Hi, this is National Chess Master R. Rats at chess.com doing game commentary for the First America's live weekend chess championship. And there were just a couple of games left. This one did follow what I was saying in the other video a little bit. Let's back it up slightly. White ended up giving up the exchange, but looks like something is... Maybe White gave it back, or Black gave it back. Let's see. When we got into this position, Black had a lot of pressure, and I was trying to find a move, and I was saying, you know, what about rook at e3? Well, that's going to at least lose the exchange, and that's what he chose to keep Black from getting an attack. But after this exchange, you know, White's just down an exchange, and Black can get his pawn back. You know, the pawn that White took cost him some time to defend this position, and it ended up costing the exchange. And Black picks up a check. Now Black decides this pawn is weak. He'll just go ahead and take the pawn on b2. But I'm also, well, not quite yet. Well, yeah. I'm almost wondering about this. What if White plays bishop b3 and traps that try to trap that rook? Well, let's see. Queen takes e3, and you can't go attack it. Yeah, bishop, you know, White's just in trouble here. Okay, so he brings his queen up, and now what about bishop b3? Yeah, see, there it is, bishop b3. Now maybe that rook is gonna be gone. So Black counterattacks, White defends, and now Black's trying to get that rook out of there, play a5 to deflect the bishop, but oops, he moved right when we don't want him to. We're trying to comment. So queen c1. Well, Black can stop and take this pawn with check. I don't know why he doesn't do that. I guess he can take it next move. So Black's gotten careless and given back the exchange. But look at the pawns he has. He has 7 of them, and White has but 6, and they're 3 pawn islands. The White rook on a1 is doing him absolutely no good. The White king is exposed. Black can consider plans like rook here, here, and here. This pawn is loose. That explains Black's next move. And that's where we stand. Myth Bullet Chess keeps disconnecting and coming back. It's been like that the whole tournament for him. You know, Black is strategically winning. White's tied down, guarding this pawn. The rook's not in play. He's got to get it in play somehow. But White's going to lose this unless Black gets careless. Let's look at this other game. It took on a couple of interesting twists. Let's back it up a little bit, and we'll review what I was saying earlier. When Black played e5, I think White should take with the knight. I mean, with a pawn. And after knight takes, go ahead and put a knight on d4. Instead, what White does is White develops the Black rook, and now the rook gets into e5, and knight d4. And I think Black's best move was to put the rook over here. But what he does is fine too, because you can still do that. But he took with the queen. And he didn't take with the rook. He took with the queen. And now the rook loses the option to come over to h5. Let's just back it up a little bit. See, rook h5, it threatens this check. Okay, White's got to have to deal with that. How is White going to deal with it? Well, we don't know. But let's examine those possibilities. If knight f3, thanks for moving and ruining my diagram. Looks like White's in trouble all of a sudden. Whoops. Well, let's see what happened. We'll find out what happened when we get there. Okay, so let's back up slightly. Okay, rook h5, knight f3. That's one way to defend. But suddenly, Black gets the chance to play bishop g4. And what bishop g4 does is it not only threatens to double the pawns, but remove the defender. So of h2. So If that happens, white's really in trouble. Um, if white play rook h5, if white plays g3, if anything, the knight can come to g4. Now there's more pressure on h2, and suddenly, well, white does have the option to outplay knight here, but black is not required to play knight g4. See, rook h5, g3. Black could go wave a bishop somewhere in the white position. And it just seemed like this was the way to go, to try to get something out of it. And when I first talked about the isolated pawn back on the other video, I was saying that black has e4 for his knight, and he had never done that, and I hadn't even discussed it. But then it's going to happen here in a moment. So here I'm thinking white's standing ever so slightly better, simply because black is settled with the isolated queen pawn, and the objective is to of white's is to trade rooks and queens and go into some kind of minor piece ending, and white's doing fine with all the winning chances because of this isolated queen pawn. It's a target, and black's going to be defending this. It doesn't mean white's winning, but it means black is going to be defending this. So they both slightly improve or weaken their position, depending on how you want to look at it. These do take squares away from pieces, and if this bishop vacates, the black bishop can get there, although, whoop, it goes with a new move. But now black sends his king up, and white does the same. So it looks like white's kind of fumbling here, not sure what to do. You need to secure this pawn in some way, shape, or form, and get some pieces traded, rooks and queens. But now the knight does come into e4, and it's a little bit of a pest here. It's a good square for it, but white should return and blockade. Just bring the knight back, and maybe white can think about kicking that knight out with f3. Okay, so he plays here, and now there's tricks in some lines where maybe this pawn could come under fire. What would those tricks be? Well, you got to deflect the queen. Here's one way to do it: bishop takes. Okay, so if it were black to play and he played bishop takes and queen takes, all of a sudden this queen comes down here with check, and then I think the knight falls next. So white's got some problems here, and I don't think he found the right move. And I wouldn't say it's problems that are indirectly bad, but white chose to liquidate this knight, and I think this is basically wrong. Go back and use the blockade. Okay, the blockade is valuable, and then it's very likely you can kick that knight out with f3. Okay, after knight d4, I'm not sure how black makes progress. But trading off this knight, I mean, he just committed an oops here, and he thinks he's winning a pawn or something, and then he runs into this, and now the advantage of having an isolated pawn is gone, and there's a pin. You're going to lose the exchange and be down a pawn. It's a completely winning game for black now. Signed, sealed, delivered. White just handed the game to black. He had the better game, and he handed it to him. We'll come back and talk about that again. Here we're looking at this game again. We just have the two games. Let's see if anything has taken place. I know black is running out of time. He's down to 6 minutes. I'm very proud of white is running out of time. I always mix black and white up. Dyslexia strikes. Okay. White's down to 6 minutes, so he's got a bonus 360 seconds, and he gets 30 seconds every time he moves. That's what he's working off of. And black just has to improve his position. I'm not so sure about that. My idea was to swing the rook to e8 to e6 and g6. Now, how does the black rook join into play? Don't quite understand g6. And white needs to get his rook into play. Rook f1 is pretty much called for. Rook to c1. The idea of putting it on c4 and a4 is a possibility. Black is still for choice here, but white's got his work cut out for him. Since he's running low on time, let's keep it here. Well, there was a click on the other game. Let's see what they played. He just piled up on the pin piece. And that's one reason for having the king up on g7, is that it avoided a potential check in this line. And now the rook is pinned. What do we call this? A cross pin? Pinned against two pieces. Now it's still pinned. Black can take it if he wants, but he doesn't have to. Black's for choice there. We'll come back to this game. They played rook f1. It's a natural move to make, simply because it puts the rook on a half-open file, but maybe, depending on where the queen goes, white can go gobble this pawn. We don't know yet. May not want to lose this pawn in return, so I'm thinking maybe queen h3 will be played. Then white will logically play something like queen f2, threatening down here, but black can cover that easily enough. The queen can come on h6, can come back to, or h3 can come back to e6, and black is still for choice. There's been a move or two over here. Looks like probably the rook got taken. Yep. Okay, now the knight needs to move. Black is just weakened e6, but that shouldn't matter. Okay, knight f2, kind of playing defensively here. It should be a routine win for white, for black. I would play rook e3, and I think white's in serious trouble. Yep, there it is. How do you guard this? Well, you come back with the queen. But this pawn is pinned again, and here comes g4 and g5, or g5 and g4. Oh, you got to be careful. There's a check to pick up the rook. Let's see. Well, white's not as much trouble as I thought. White has a threat. White's threatening to play queen d4 check. Black has to watch out. I mean, it's natural to want to pile up on the pin piece, but meaning this pawn, but it can't be done. You're going to drop a rook. So queen e6 would be good for black. Now white gets some checks. That's one drawback of running this pawn up. Weakened the king a little bit. So queen e6, queen d4 check. We're going to put the king. If you come up to h6, you run into queen check here, and you get to go back. Black's exposed his king. White might have a few chances here, but it's up to black to move. There's nothing making him play queen e6. That's just the first move that comes to mind. Queen c5 stops queen check, but it allows queen check down on d7. Of course, queen e5. If queen check, you can just bring the king back. Queen back. Let's peek at this other game that I heard some captures. So, g6. Let's see. It's not advancing the moves correctly. He moved the king out of the way. Now keeps pressure on the pawn. White needs to play queen f2 here. Got to do something. Back to this game. Both sides have time. Let's talk about their time. They've spent just over an hour on it and gotten 16 back. So they spent 76 minutes for 32 moves. That means they're spending over 2 minutes a move, which is good. Okay, and we already know white has done a good job here with his time. He's gotten himself in time trouble actually, and black has done a reasonable job of taking his time too. 26 moves. He's spent 47 minutes, got 13 back. He spent an hour for 26 moves. A little quicker than, wait, no, 26 into 60. You know, he's going over 2 minutes a move. That's good. Okay, so good job with the time management. Uh, White's in time pressure, and he's not. You know, it's running down. A little while ago he had over 6 minutes. Now he can get it back up over 6 minutes with some quick moves, but it's not that easy. I just heard a tick, so let's see what happened on this game. He blocked the check with rook e5. Okay, so he saw it coming. Now he's planning rook d5, I guess, or queen d5, offering to take over the d file if there's an exchange, or chase the queen out, keep the power on the game. I would think queen d5, White will just move his queen away. So rook d5, followed by backing up the rook with the queen and then penetrate to the 7th rank looks good. You know, queen d5 is wishful thinking, but White has to move here. It's White gets a move. They pinned it. Okay, so here's the disadvantage of having playing that pawn to f5. The king is exposed. You can't stop and play king f6. Well, you can. Darn it, you know. Well, can't. Well, or can you? See, f5 is, see, that pawn's pinned, but you can come over with the knight. Tricky, tricky. So Black needs to play queen f6 here, and now the pin is broken on the f pawn. Let's see, we heard a tick over here. I think Black needs to play queen f6. So here, now here White's nets that pawn, and Black will grab this one, and White's king is still precariously posted, and White has a passed a pawn now, but it's a long way from coronation, a long way. Let's come back to this game. So Black played queen d5, a move I was suggesting in a slightly different position to break the pin, and now he's penetrated with the queen. Queen wants to tie this. The white queen's tying the black queen down to this pawn. What can Black do here? You know, one drawback with playing f5 is it did expose his king a little unnecessarily. How about rook here? We like pins. Let's pin it. And if king f1, you can play queen takes f3. And I think White's going to run out of checks. Queen d4 check, king h3, and White can't, yeah, see rook e2, White can't check on e3 or f4. So now the threat is to take over the 7th rank at some point. Well, at least not yet. White's keeping pressure on b7. White's doing the best he can. He's got a pawn for the exchange, but you know, if the queens come off, it's curtains. Not sure how White saves this game. He's got time on the clock to figure a plan out, but let's go back and look at this. Whose move is it? It's Black's. White's down to 4 minutes, but it gets a 30-second increment every move. Again, what went wrong for White here was his opening, you know, rook e1, and then he got himself pinned on with the bishop on g4, the pressure with the knight on d4, and we had a move here. Okay, there's a check. Okay, now if the king comes up, there's another check, and the king better not come up here, because then suddenly it's White who wins. So Black gets to repeat the position. There's one drawback with this f5 move. Yeah, White's got some annoying checks here. If you bring the king up, the queen could gobble this pawn. It might be the only chance. King up, eat this pawn. Now we've got problems here, maybe. But White's ready to start checking, and Black's king's exposed. don't remember if I said I liked f5 at the time. Let's look at it again. It wasn't really necessary to play f5, and it does weaken the black king. Just take over the d file, and everything is fine. Anyway, he didn't do that. Let's go to the end. Black has to figure out how to get out of check, and white wants to keep him in check. So I think if black comes either one of these directions, white should grab that pawn because he's still threatening checks. And just go for what you can get. And if the king comes back here, there's a check, and we're going to repeat the position. Well, maybe not. Let's see. King G8, queen check, king F7. Okay, queen check, and rook E7. That ends the checks. But it takes black off the 7th rank. Oh, he had queen there directly. Yeah, that does it. Okay. Now white needs to save his queen. I would put it on B6 again and make black prove he can make progress. And black should be able to make progress, but it's a matter of making him do it. You don't want to make the task easy on him. Okay, so let's peek at this game again. Black is definitely taking his time. Oh, I've got a call. Hey, Alexei, you're on a recording right now. I'm making a video, but I went ahead and take your call. So if you don't want to be on the video, don't talk, and you can talk to me afterwards. But I didn't want to be rude and decline. How are you doing, guy? Getting lots of typing. Anyway,
can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Could you hear me?
Yeah.
I'm in live chess making a video. There's a weekend chess tournament online going on, live tournament, and I'm providing the commentary for it. And all of a sudden your call came, so I thought, well, I don't want to be rude and press decline, so I thought I'd take it. But you're being recorded. You're going to be on YouTube.
All right. Well, I was gonna say I have another prospective customer for you.
Okay. Well,
May sign up in a few weeks. And
wonderful.
Yeah, and I wanted to have another offer for you, but maybe we can talk about that later. Can I get a hold of you?
Right. You know, I'm probably going to be done with this I've been making the videos an hour long, and there's 2 games going left. I'm taking it to the conclusion, so it might be done in a half an hour, but I don't know. I don't know exactly what's happening yet. But I'm home all the time now and just doing online lessons like crazy. The schools I was working at are down for the summer, and the activities I have with them aren't as much, but they're time consuming, but they're very profitable. So I keep busy.
That's good. So I'll try to call you later.
All right, Lexi.
All right, thank you.
Take care. Bye now.
Bye.
So, you know, always somebody wanting some chess. Whoops, hit the wrong button. I've been into the live chess window. I mean, not the live chess, the group for this tournament. Okay, so he did play Queen B6 like I thought, and now he's advancing his pawns. Now let's talk about an endgame. What can White do to save this? Well, the first thing to save it is a perpetual check, and there were some possibilities of that, and I even mentioned a possible mate. But as long as Black is careful, that won't happen. You got to keep the queens on, and make Black find a way through. Now, if White trades off his 3 pawns on the queen side for the 2 pawns on the queen side, the game is going to be lost in the long run, simply because the rook will beat the knight. But Black has to be careful. He can't keep liquidating pawns. There are some theoretical endings where rook and pawn versus knight and pawn are drawn. You got to keep as many pawns on the board as you can. So Black needs to trade queens at some point, but it's not clear exactly how he's going to do it yet. Maybe Black should try to pile up on the weakness on C3 somehow. But how is he going to do that? Well, rook c2 is a start, and then you want the queen. You want the queen to get active somewhere and not let the king get exposed to perpetual check. Okay, here it looks like the idea is queen e3, which would force the queens off, unless, let's see. Okay, queen e3 threatens to take this with a quick mate to follow. And if white doesn't take, he's got to try his luck with the checks. And I think he runs out of them because the king comes up here and you don't have this check. So clearly this is what black is trying to do. And this also combines the idea of going after the weakness on c3. But that's if white can manage to advance his pawns and trade them down. Queen e3 is a serious threat, and then those queenside pawns are doomed. So what do we? Okay, well, he's going to do that, and these pawns are just going to fall quickly. Queen e3, queen takes, rook takes. You can advance another pawn, and rook b2, and you're going to lose two of your pawns very quickly. Okay, what happened here? We had an exchange of something. Oh, white's won another pawn. White's got an equality of pawns. White's coming back. Okay, well that's good. I mean, it's not good for black, but it makes the game exciting. White's doing fine here. He had it from going to a lost game into a game he has chances on. His biggest drawback is he's low on time. Let's see, what has taken place here? G3. Okay, came back. He took a pawn. He took a pawn. You attacked the rook. And F7. And bingo. This pawn is under attack. White could play queen d4. We could have a queen trade. And suddenly white has two connected passed pawns and can attempt to try for a win. I would put the rook on b1, not on a1, on b1. That way, if I'm behind a pawn and I can stick the rook on b2 if need be and start advancing this pawn, and my one pawn will move quicker than your 5-on-3 because you don't even have a passed pawn yet. I'm starting to like white here. So we like some excitement. Makes the games interesting. White's in the game. Black has not played his hand correctly, but at least he's taking his time. We can't expect you to see everything. Everyone has a different skill level, and you can take 20 minutes and not find the key move. There's queen e3 as I expected, and this game seems to be pretty much over now because you have to take. You run out of checks if you check on c7. The king runs to h6, and it's Quaintons, as Curly of the Three Stooges would say, or certainly. Okay, so then what happens is these pawns are just too weak. You try to trade them off as quickly as you can, and the rook just comes behind one of them, rook b2, or well, actually the rook's would be on this square. b5 takes, and rook takes, and then how do you save this guy? And suddenly you lost 3 pawns to 1. So he's trying to advance them, but they're slow movers. There was a move in this game. Came down and attacked the rook. Okay, so here his idea maybe is to get a perpetual check. Oh, it looks like he gave up this game. So let's back it up slightly. Pretty much try to cover a couple things. If it let me, sometimes it's letting me, sometimes it doesn't. Okay. When the knight goes to e4, and queen came here, this is the threat. Bishop takes a4. Okay, time to go here. Now, let's see. Does this trick work? Bishop takes, queen takes. Whoops, go away. Window pop up. Okay. Bishop takes, queen takes here. Now you're menacing this pawn and this square again. Don't think it works. White can just bring his queen back. Okay, so what if black tries to keep the pressure up somewhere? What if he tries queen a5? Oops. How did that pawn get from f2 to a5? Oh my goodness. Ye doggies. Look at that. Whee! Oh, this is... I can't wait for their new interface. Look at this. Is this amusing? Pawn f2 to a5. Bughouse chess at its finest. Okay. Queen a5 hits this square, and you can't play b3 because this falls. Well, let's see. Now it puts it on b4. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Okay. So, let's see. Queen a5. But I was talking about a defense with f3 at some point. Let's do that. Now, black does get a tempo if he wants. Bishop takes. Let's see, that tickles the queen. But then I can play b3, and suddenly you have two pieces on pre. Yeah, you can't play bishop takes. Okay, so let's see, bishop takes, b3, queen takes. Now there's all sorts of stuff hanging. Let's see. The queen's protected. You just take the bishop. You could take... Nothing's protecting the knight now. Take the queen first. The knight takes. Now there's nothing guarding your rook. And if you take the rook, the bishop... Oops, look at that sleep pop up. Go away. Now puts the knight on c8. Look at this. Knight from e4 to c8. Isn't that hysterical? Okay. Wow, this is wild. Okay. So f3. Let's take this. This is crazy. Let's analyze this out. Now b3. Now you got two pieces on pre, but this attacks this piece. Okay, so... Well, you know what? Just take this bishop and be done with it. Because when you take this, I take this, and I've won a piece. So some crazy tactics. Okay, so let's back it up a little bit and talk about what I thought was the best move for black was not to play rook ce8, but to put the rook here. See, white's got some difficulties here. If knight f3, bishop g4 is strong. The threat is to take the knight and double the pawns and then eat the pawn on h2. I don't know exactly what white does here. So he probably can't play knight f3. And, you know, if h3, I was talking at some point, maybe there's a sacrifice coming at some point. Maybe, we don't know yet. With due preparation, there could be. You know, still get this knight e4 move in at some point. And if g3, this creates some weaknesses around the white king. Of course, you know, you have a bishop that could come into the rescue. But I was talking about g3 and knight g4. Now there's pressure here. You can now play the knight to f3. Rather than, might be more sane than really weakening up the position with h4. But I don't know. It seemed like black's getting some initiative here. This rook's out of play. It's defending a pawn, and which was why I'll show you what I played or was playing after e5. This was a mistake. It developed the black rook, Here, let's make a comparison. Store this in our mind. It's this position with white to move. Okay, and white chose to play knight d4. Now it's black's move. Okay, well, let's do it a little differently. Let's take here. Now we're going to avoid a knight exchange. We're going to play here. Now it's compare this position to what we had. When I have a full analysis board, I can click back and forth and show it's black to play here, but notice his rook's not on e5. Yeah, white gives up his bishop. Big deal. He doesn't need it. The knights are strong here. Black needs this knight, and if black takes on, oh, let's see. Let's kind of change things slightly. Let's take this. So you no longer have e5. The rook, but now you can play this move, and threatening to double the pawns. But you can just return the knight to the scene of the crime, and this rook didn't get developed. So anyway, it was e5 is an enterprising move. It created some complications. I hope I helped both of you and that are played, and everybody that watched the game. We're down to one game. And I'm going to flick over to that after I close this, and we'll see what's happening. White's managed to lose a pawn back. Well, he doesn't have much time. Didn't have. He still doesn't. Okay, he's down to a minute and a half. Okay, so he attacked the rook. He guarded the rook, but in doing so, he gave up this pawn. So did he have to give up the rook? Well, If you end up with a draw, you end up with a draw. I guess black could take this pawn too. I'm just thinking, if you're low on time, a draw's got to be a satisfactory result. You could play here, and then if check, black can take a perpetual. But we don't know exactly what the players are thinking. But now you can't take this pawn because you get mated. So he offers a queen trade. And I still have a feeling the game is going to be drawn because rook and pawn endings, a pawn up, are often drawn, provided you can get your rook active. If you don't get your rook active, you're not going anywhere. So that's the key here. Black has to get white has to get his rook active if black trades queens, and I think it's in black's interest to trade queens. Don't know how long this game will go. Hopefully, black takes his time. And doesn't try to run white out of time, because it's easy if you trade the queens. It's easy to make moves with fewer pieces on the board. And we could see black with easily 5, 6, 7 minutes on his clock again in 10 moves. Just depends on what happens. But black needs to trade the queens and play rook a1, and then try to advance his king up. King f8, king e7, king e6, and then f5. White needs to get his rook active. Give up pawns to get pawns off the board. But if with black having a 4-on-2 pawn majority, it's going to, on the king side, it's going to be tough. White needs to preserve one pawn on the queen side and get his rook behind it so that it's active and can be advanced. And then get his king active. His king's in the corner. So we're down to one game, and that will complete this tournament. Let's talk about the tournament for a minute or two while we're waiting for him to move. It was a very enterprising event. It involved actual starting times, just like any tournament you go to live. Okay, I thought he should have traded queens, but this could work. Now, white should play rook f2, battening down the hatches, covering his weak pawn on a2. But the idea was to mimic a real tournament you would travel to. You know the start times. You don't have to negotiate with your opponent. The human element it requires a lot of work. This is why we need automated tournaments, and hopefully this tournament shows that there's a demand for these. But you have to add people to your friends list so you can find them in live chess. You have to check in before the round to make sure, so the tournament director knows you're going to be there. He doesn't want to parry you if you're not coming. That's not fair to whoever you play, right? Okay. The tournament director has to make pairings. He's got a program to do that. Okay, that weakens b3. You could lose that pawn to rook b8. No, you can't lose it. You get queen takes f7 check. Okay, a4 is a good move. I'm not watching the board carefully. Let's come back and talk about tournaments on chess.com. The tournament director has to post the pairings. The tournament director has to post the results. You know, there's a lot of work here, even with a human volunteer. Bots cover all this. And, you know, chess.com has bots running tournaments. There's no reason one can't run a tournament like this. It can be done, and it's the only way. You know, just imagine you have 1,000 people that wanted to play. Take the pawn. Just let it. He'll get one. You'll keep one pass pawn. That's what you've got to do. You got to get a pass pawn and advance it, and you can't let that c pawn become a threat by losing your pawn on b3. So you've got to take it and put the rook behind whichever one black doesn't take. Okay, that's the strategy here, and try to advance it. Okay, that's one strategy. There's probably other ways. I think if draw is a fair result here, but white. Well, look at White's time. He's down to 32 seconds. He did take. Okay, he's back up to a minute. But you see, the human factor having to do all these things, it still requires it requires time and effort, and a bot can cover all this. And I've already explained how to do this and got a lot of support. Just run an automated tournament, and ICC does it. Why can't chess.com? It recognizes when you're online. If you're not online, you don't get paired. Gee, what's hard about that? Then you don't have to have anybody check in. There, he followed my advice. He's putting his rook behind the pawn, and now he's going to try to run it and make it. Now, black should probably, since the threat on f7 is double covered by the rook and the queen, black should run his rook to a8. White can push it to a5, and then the queen goes to b5, and then white needs to put his queen on a3. The pawn will give him some counterplay, because he needs to hold on to it. Okay, so back to tournaments. What I proposed is a kind of tournament that goes once a week at a set starting time, and this is what my World Standard Time Control group tried to set up, where everyone would know there's 5 global start times. Weekdays like 7 p.m. In 5 major time zones spread across the world. We're trying to hit 7 p.m. in East Coast and West Coast United States, Western Europe, and India, and then trying to capture the Australian market, even though it not exactly coincides with the Philippines. It's close. It's trying 5 start times. And an automated tournament will handle that just perfectly. And you enter, you show, if you're online, you get paired. If you're not online, you don't get paired. And this ends all the human factor where you have to stop and collect all this data. I mean, I give simul's. I have people sign up. I've got to copy them into a list, and I found it much easier to alphabetize them. So I paste it into Microsoft Word, sort it by alphabetical. But then when I go in to do my challenging, I have to look through the friends list, and I have over 800 friends on chess.com. They're not all on at once, but there's always a lot of them playing live chess that I have to look for and find out who's on the list and who needs to get a challenge. Even that takes me 10, 15 minutes, maybe even longer, to get all the challenges issued, especially when somebody doesn't respond. I have to send them a chat request or go post on the group wall, hey, I've sent requests, come on, whatever it takes to get you guys to see I'm trying to play you. But I would say, even though this doesn't have a lot of, blocking the pawn, that was smart. Now white needs to activate his queen. But, white doesn't need to worry too much. Let's just centralize the king. Is white going to lose that pawn? Well, that would be terrible if he lost the pawn. And he's only got 1 minute 11 seconds and counting to solve it. King g2, queen b4, bang. How do you defend the pawn? With queen a3, that's how. But then the pawn on e4 falls. My idea wasn't any good. It looks like he's going to lose the pawn. Anyway, back to these tournaments. One night a week. There's a tournament on a given weeknight. You set Monday night aside for chess. You send Friday night aside from chess. Whatever you set aside. There's a game at that time. And if your lifestyle is different, that you don't work your normal, or if you call them normal, 9 to 5 hours, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., you're off at 1 p.m., well, bang. If you're on the West Coast, you can play in the East Coast tournaments. That's simple. And if you're a graveyard person, you might be able to play against the guys on the other side of the planet, right? And that's a monthly tournament. Start however many weekdays are in that month. It's either going to be a 4 or a 5-round event. And the bots can handle that, handle the entries, handle the pairings, print out the results, send you a trophy for winning. The bots can do all that. And what's nice is nobody has this. And chess.com would really kick some serious rear end if they implemented this. I've proposed it. They have to be aware of it. I know they're making some changes to their live server. It'll happen eventually. But all we can do is keep getting you guys to play these games, watch these videos that describe them and let you see the advantage of you playing these games. Have you learned something, want to get more involved with playing slow games so that you can study them, ideally with your partner after, or the coach if you have a coach, or in my video lessons group. Any game you play, put it in the forum. Members, help each other analyze here. Just post the game. Somebody will come along and help. If nobody's helping you, go help somebody else. It'll come back to you, okay? So let's see. We're at 47 minutes. I'm gonna let this go the duration. There's queen b4 like I thought, and I think White's in trouble. He's going to lose his pawn. So he's got to set up some counterplay, activate the rook, and play for mate. Rook c1, and then if black gobbles the pawn, you play queen h6 and try and mate poor black. It's too bad he's going to lose that a pawn. I think he's going to lose it. He played there, but that drops the e4 pawn with check. Eee! Well, he doesn't have time on his clock, so we got to forgive him. He was down to 13 seconds when he made that. Okay, I have a feeling the game was lost, but nice comeback, from a poor opening that didn't quite work out as well as hoped. You fought back. You learned something from it. You get analysis from me to give suggestions. You've got all the time in the world to take my suggestions, sit down with a board and play them over. But again, this is a resounding success because it offers one other thing that I didn't think of is weekend tournaments. They can this was run for the Americas. Both East and West Coast can fit in. A little tougher if you're in England, although you can always take half-point buys and grab a couple of games, huh? A little tough if you're in Asia, but if we get enough of these going, we get more people playing them, and you have to start somewhere. You don't suddenly have 5 million members or whatever they have, 10 million members. You don't get those overnight. You got to build up. So even though it's not the biggest thing, and even though there are people that signed up that didn't play for whatever reason, that's okay. They weren't here tying up, making somebody wait for somebody that didn't show up. Generally, at real over-the-board tournaments, people show up. Why? Because they pay an entry fee. Here, you're not paying anything. You're getting this free. So, because it's free, it may cause you to forget about it. But what the heck? You don't show. But here, you don't show. You don't get paired. And if you show, you will get an opponent. And that's the whole key with automated tournaments. They can be done, and they should be done. And especially when it makes you the internet leader in running tournaments, standard time control tournaments. You want to do this chess.com. There's no reason not to. If you don't, somebody else is going to come along and do it. My concept of the World Standard Time Control Club was first offered to ICC and in their STC bunch. And the people loved it. They hate having to negotiate back and forth with somebody and then he doesn't show up. You finally you change your plans so you can play chess, and now your opponent doesn't show. Bummer. It's one of the biggest drawbacks with player negotiations. So you give up a night, you do something else, and you don't get a game. But my idea is, well, you show up, we'll get you a game, and that's what this tournament does. You show up and you get a game. It's that simple. And Chess.com can do that with automated tournaments, where if you're entered and you didn't show up, you don't get paired. ICC already does it with their Saturday standard event. I think they play 15-5 or something, and over every Saturday of the month. And if you're online, it recognizes you're online and it pairs you. If you're not online one week, well, guess what? You don't have a game. You don't lose a game on forfeit. Nobody wins a game on forfeit. You come back the following week. Oh, you're back in. Welcome back. What, Chess.com can do that? Don't tell me they can't. And when you have long games like this, nobody else will have it. Nobody. Everyone will want to come here. Everybody will want to come here. And, that's why I'm promoting this. That's why I'm taking time out of my schedule to promote this. Now, will I do this next event? I don't know. Hopefully somebody else will want to come along and do this. This is fun. You don't have to be a master to do this. If you're a reasonable player and can make a video and comment on a game, I'll set you up with a video capture software. It's that simple. If you're a master and want some exposure, this is a perfect venue. Yeah, you give your time. But, you've been giving to chess all your life already, right? You have. You can't tell me you haven't. Hours you spent studying, hours you spent traveling to tournaments, playing games, times you paid an entry fee, you didn't win a prize, it cost you money to do it. I'm just giving my time here. That's all. I'm not paying to sit here and do this. So I'd like to see, here comes the danger, counterplay. Here comes the pawns. That pawn's going to get dangerous. Anyway, I'm guessing black's going to win. Now white's starting to gain a little time on the clock, but that pawn's going to get dangerous. And it might be a time soon for black to shift his focus and play for mate. Let's get the pawn to e3 where it opens up a diagonal against the king. And then maybe we can consider shifting the... I don't want to play e3. Queen c8 is the threat. Or is it? Queen c8, king up, queen takes a6. We drop the rook on a1 with check. But, hey, anything can happen. We got queens on the board and possibilities of perpetual check. So black has to be careful still. But anyway, I can't promise I'll do another series like this. Now that we're going to promote the heck out of this, that what we've done and what we want to do next, and hopefully more people take notice and want to play, especially want to play, and especially if we can get games analysts aboard that will cover these. I mean, I was able to do all rounds, and let's see, I think I did about 4 hours yesterday, and today I'm maybe three and a half. I'm putting in 8 hours of video here. That's 8 hours of free instruction for the participants that watched, that played. Their games aren't exclusively commented on, but they can learn from what I'm looking at with the others, plus as well as their own. So there's this promotion is win-win. Those that blazed the trail and played in the first one and were bright enough to add me as a friend on time got their games covered. I think I lost 1 or 2 games here and there, maybe even this round, where neither side had added me as a friend. If you don't add me as a friend, I can't find your game, because I'm not going to look. I can't show you on the video, but try it in live chat. You click games, and you eventually see a roster, and you go to, say, pick the letter D as in dog, and look at all the Ds that are playing. Ooh, boy, I don't want to look through that, do you? Well, I'm not going to. You add me as a friend. You show me that you want it. And that way also, I know that it's being done. What if I didn't tell anybody I was making these? Are you going to read that I made a video even if I post it? You believe it? How many people do not read? On my little soapbox here, I'm not talking about chess. I proved years ago people do not read what's posted, and it's proven to me over and over and over again. I always keep my YouTube playlist on the page 1 of my video lessons group. Yet, invariably, one time a week or several times in a month, somebody comes along. Where are the videos? Well, I post again. Look, one post down below yours. They're right there. Okay, now White's got to go for counterplay. Queen c8 check. Grab the rook. Oh, well, now he's threatening Queen c8 check. Okay, we'll give him that. But essentially you're taking a hopeless game and trying something. Queen c8 check, king up, queen takes check, king up. White's out of checks. Black's on the critical diagonal. Black wins. That pawn is getting dangerous. White played the correct choice. Now he's threatening Queen c8 check. Okay, so back to what I was saying. Ooh, Rook g2 is forced. And then Black can take the a pawn or just pushes e pawn a little further. White's got a minute and a half to figure it out. Time pressure. It's so rare to see this in tournament games, standard games online. You go to a real tournament, you see this like crazy. How many people's flags are hanging, and they're rushing to get 5 moves in what we mean by flag hanging. Today we use digital clocks. In the old days it was analog clocks. You had 2 separate clocks with the 12 hours and the minute and the hour hand. And there was something they called a flag. When the minute hand approached the hour, it would hit the flag and it would start raising it up. And there's just a little attachment, they call it a flag. And at the hour, when it passes, the flag drops. Because the hour, it's pushed it up and it passes it, and gravity brings it down. And if you haven't made your prescribed number of moves, you lose. So when the flag is ready to fall, it's almost vertical, or not vertical, horizontal, ready to fall. We could say that's a flag hanging, and you don't know exactly how many seconds you have, unless it's your clock and you've experimented with it. So I've seen people have that looks like the flag is ready to fall, and they somehow managed to get 1, 2, 3 moves in, and then make time control, and then an instant later, boom, it falls. But they made the time. So you don't see this much in online chess. That's what I'm impressed about Ellen's Aslan here. Nobody's the best player. We're all at different skill levels. His rating shows he's in the lower echelon of this tournament, but that's okay. He's taking his time, and by doing so, he will get better. It's just fact. Now, Black can win this in almost any way he wants. The simplest is to play Rook takes a5, because White doesn't have time for Queen takes e3, because Rook a1 check pretty much ends it. White's going to have to throw his queen back to g1, and Rook takes g1. Well, this should do it too. The threat is Queen d1 check. Can Black get away with Queen c8 check now? King g7, Queen takes a6. Nope, because e1 equals Queen, Queen f1, Queen takes f1 mate. Game over. So Black had his choice to win, ways to win. It looks like this one's almost over, and we've covered almost all. So when this game ends, I'm going to conclude the broadcast and not go back over. I think White made a valiant effort. I'm really impressed with the way he spent his time. And Black wasn't lulled into a false sense of security. Black took his time too. And what looked to be a very easy game became very complicated, and this proved to be a good workout for both players. Okay, so it looks like we're about to end. He did the check, but it's going to end in a mate here. in just a couple moves, I think. He played that with 12 seconds left because he's up to 42. And after king g7, black is threatening mate on the move by promoting to a rook or queen. But black's taking his time, not rushing. Could be away from the computer, but king g7 is forced. Queen d8 is the only other legal move. And if you're in a real tournament, if you touch your queen, guess what? You got to move it. But this is the internet, and we have mouse slips instead of touch pieces. That's what we have. We don't have mouse slips in real tournaments when you're moving real three-dimensional pieces. Anyway, like I say, who knows what the next turn will run. It was a success. Doesn't matter if it could have gotten more or not. It was a success because it was held, and people showed up, and it happened. Well, you didn't have to do that. You could take the rook. Although no, taking the rook's no fun. It just gets you mated. Okay, didn't mean when I said no. Let me back up and retract what I was saying. I was expecting queen takes rook and the game didn't mate, and when I said you didn't have to do that, I was thinking that you didn't have to do that. You could just allow yourself to get mated, but it wasn't in a bad way. It's a good move, queen c3 check, because queen takes a6 loses. Here's another way to check that I had overlooked. Okay, so how do we get out of check? Stick the rook on f6. That ends the checks. Okay, then the threat is queen, still queen. Queen d1 check. And then the rook, the pin's gone. Yeah, white's got some play here still. Okay, so I've been keeping all the videos under an hour or right at an hour. This one's going just past it, but that's okay. There's no point in stopping and making another one. I really don't think this game will last more than 5 or 10 minutes. We'll just let it roll. But as I was saying, and I've said again, this event is to me a resounding success, because even though it was exposed to everybody, now it's going to get more exposed. Hey, look what we did. We had a tournament. We had an actual standard time control tournament, and people played, and now queen c7 check. I was wondering about that. And if king h6, queen f4 check, the checks are alive. Queen f4 check, g5, and poor white's running out of checks. Okay, so it'll be more promoted. I'll post an article about it for chess.com, talking about what the historic event was and how you need to get involved. This is the best way to improve, because really, I mean, even though I'm a professional chess coach and people want to take lessons, you will improve your game on your own too if you're playing a lot, and you'll improve it better by playing a long time controlled game. So there's two ways to take your time on chess.com in tournaments or games like this, 90-30, and that's what all the groups linked in the YouTube channel provide, or not YouTube channel, YouTube description of this video describe. My World Standard Time Control Club, 365 days a year, the Dan Heisman Learning Center, and Zugzwang 67's Slow Live Chess Association. All these provide you with opportunities to find partners for long games. And then most of them, I think, run online team matches. I don't know if the Slow Live Chess does it. I know Dan Heisman's group does it. Oh, you've just given up your pawn. Now this game's going to go longer. Queen takes, and you have to win it all over again. Okay, so now rook takes e2, rook takes e2, rook takes a5. Black is still winning, but white's survived a little longer. The dangerous pass pawn is gone. but and then you can play online team matches with my group. You take your time there, analyze, work, learn a lot. Uh, you know, you learn by doing, and doing is playing. It's that simple. Uh, and then your game's going over. You know, I have a lot of students that want lessons. They know what to do, but they want the learning process accelerated. So that's what I do with them, and I teach them to think like I do. And believe it or not, I've got them thinking like I do. Some of the testimonies I get, you know, it's wonderful what I hear. Like one guy said, I was 1,200 strength a year ago, and I watched just about every video you had. Recently, I beat 2 out of 3 players rated over 1850, or was it 3 out of 4? Okay, so now it's just a matter of advancing the pawns up the board, and eventually black will get 2 connected pass pawns. The only drawing chance is that if the pawns get split. There's a game in Paul Carey's Best Games of Chess where he drew against a strong player. I can't remember who. It might have been Stahlberg. I don't remember. Where his opponent missed a chance to keep the pawns connected and they got split. And there are some positions where the rook can draw against 2 split pawns. I've done it before. It's rare. But to do that, you know, at some point white's going to have to challenge with h4. He can't do it here. Rook a4 check will win the pawn. Now he's threatening a mate with h5 checkmate. Yeah, it's clever. h5 mate is a threat. The white king doesn't have a move. Very nice. This might be the game. I was saying you want to play h4, you lose it, but you just lose the king. You know, you don't have to stop and play rook a4 check and win the pawn. h5 mate is a serious threat. Minute and 24 seconds to find a defense. The white king has no legal move, right? You can throw the rook into e3 and hope for stalemate, and that's what he did. But I think it'd be great if white didn't have that pawn at h2. He could claim stalemate, but h5 check, no, you don't want to do that. Allows the king back to f3. Just take the rook. And once the h-pawn moves 1 or 2 squares, you get the mate. So it just delays the mate 1 move. Now the white king has no move. He must move his h-pawn, and then h5 is mate. So we're going to see a win right now. h5 is checkmate, right? And black has 19 minutes to find it, or lose the game on time. 19 minutes and 3 seconds. Now, f5 is also a mate, but h5 did it. Black won. Well played, both of you. Nice fighting game, after all. And thanks to everybody that watched these videos. If you made it through all of them, I really hope you learned something. If you watch all my videos, if you want to take the time, there's a lot of them. You're going to learn a lot. You're going to learn openings. You're going to learn how to play endings. You're going to learn some tricks, all kinds of things. You'd be surprised what's in my videos. You really would. There's a lot to learn. It's all there for you to watch and get better at chess. I'm the top-selling chess coach on chess.com. They don't keep track anymore. When they stopped, it was March of last year, I was the 4th highest among title players. You can still sort the list that way, but it hasn't changed since. And I did that in less than a year. And then immediately I started getting, when they stopped, I started getting crazy business. People with me week in, week out, every week. I have recurring lessons. Nobody sells like I do. Nobody has this kind of returning clientele. Why do they keep coming back? Because they're getting better. That's why. And I got the best coaching group on chess.com. I call it equal with that the Dan Heisman Learning Center has. No group comes close to what we have, because we're there interacting with the members, offering our suggestions. You only pay for what you want to pay for. No group offers what we do, and all the activity within you can't beat if you join these groups. Anyway, I'd love to keep talking and yada yada yadaing with you. Look forward to helping you one day with your chess, and even if I never know you, if you're watching my videos, I will be helping you along. So take care. Thanks. Bye now.